So you want to know whether your avoidant ex has officially moved on, and there are signs that I'm going to give you to tell you whether that is the case or not. And I know we all have that dying question for months. We have that sick feeling of not knowing whether they still care, whether they still love us, whether they even want to reconcile with us. And often to our own detriment. We sit there and wait and be patient and understanding, giving them the space and time they need to find that clarity, all the while putting our own healing on pause or standby, hoping that in the end we won't actually have to move on, we won't have to accept that this relationship is over, just in case they come back. But I'm hoping that I can give you some form of clarity as to whether you need to move on or whether there is still a chance that they actually will return. Okay, now avoidance behaviour is paradoxical to what they actually feel. And that's where it gets really confusing about knowing where they stand and how they feel about you, because they can say and behave a certain way, but actually feel a different way. They can seem distant, cold and guarded, like they've moved on, but in reality still care and love you. Same goes for the opposite. They can say they love you, but actually feel detached. And it's exhausting, because you've got a million questions in your head that you'll never find answers to, unless they give you that clarity. And often cases they don't. They don't come to you with the real dying question you have, which is, do you still love me? Do you still want this? Now, the first few things I can give you as a clear example as to whether they are moving on, whether they're actually choosing their own independence and moving and drifting away from this relationship that you had. One of the biggest signs for an avoidant moving on officially is a lack of communication. If they've stopped reaching out, they haven't spoke to you since the breakup, whether it's been weeks or months, that's usually a sign that they are choosing their independence. An avoidant that cares and that still wants love and still wants you around finds it very, very difficult to maintain distance. Because ultimately they don't want that. They don't want to be away from you, they want to be away from the feeling. And now if they're a fearful or dismissive avoidant, which many avoidants are, they will actually stay away because they're scared of their feelings. Whereas an aware avoidant may take that time away, understand why they feel that way, but then eventually return, with clarity and with real accountability, because they understand why it's happened. Another really big sign is if your avoidant has been hanging out with people that perhaps you didn't like, people that you had worries about before they split with you, that is also a clear sign that they are potentially moving on. Because feeding into new connections, giving other people more attention than the relationship you had with them shows that their interest is elsewhere. And sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, but maybe they're just doing that to distract themselves. Sometimes, yes, that is true. Avoidants do get into rebound relationships. They do seek that fun and excitement temporarily because it fixes a temporary issue. But a lot of the time, avoidants do pursue new relationships in hopes that it will actually be different, that they won't feel that way with that person, and not actually understanding that that feeling will follow them into any relationship that they so get into, because it isn't subject to you. The feeling is within them. It's an inner wound that they haven't healed and that they don't possibly understand. So no matter who they date, that same feeling will follow. Another really big one is their opinion of you has changed. If they speak negatively about you or the relationship you had, they don't really shed much light on it at all. That says a lot about the way they think about you and what you had. You know, if they're away from you and they're saying good things to other people and they don't slander your name, they don't say anything negative about what you did or what your relationship looked like in general, then that's a positive sign. It means that they have no negative associations with you or with the relationship. But if they feel the need to slander you or to minimize what you had, that is a clear sign that they are likely moving on. Once that fondness has disappeared, once that spark and that enlightenment of the relationship dissipates, it's kind of endgame. It's very hard to come back from that, I will be honest, because avoidants don't work like a secure attachment. If they have an opinion on something, it doesn't typically change, and not easily anyway. And I just want to take a pause for a second, because if you're hearing this and you're hearing everything you don't want to hear, I just want to tell you that you're going to be okay. I was in this position once. I felt this way, and it 100% gets easier. Because you learn that maybe this relationship just was wrong. Yes, they have avoidant attachment. Yes, they may be narcissists. They may be manipulators or users. But in the end, it did end. And sometimes you have to remind yourself that everything ends for a reason. Whether it be that you're not meant to be together because you're just not a good fit. There's not alignment there. There's no natural compatibility. Sometimes we overlook relationships and we think it's so much more because it's emotionally intense. It makes us feel a certain way and we have to chase that validation, especially as secure or anxious people that are dating avoidance, because they're so cold, they're distant. You almost have to chase it. And sometimes we get lost in that feeling because we're like, okay, well, I need that. I need this person. I love them. I want them. And clearly every time I fight for it, I win. And in the end, when you lose, you feel defeated. And instead of being in love, over time, you just begin to feel like you're in a game. And that's one of the worst feelings ever. And I was there. And I hope that you're not. But it does get easier. And I can tell you now, you're going to look back on this one day and think, you know what, maybe it did happen for the best. Would you want to spend the next 10 years in a relationship that's on and off? where they disappear and come back as and when they please because they give into their feeling, they give into that fear and anxiety. I don't think so. I don't think you want a relationship where you feel on edge or you feel like you're walking on eggshells. I think you want harmony. I think you want peace. I think you want a love that's reciprocated and energetically aligned, naturally compatible. You don't want to fight for love in the respect that you're putting yourself out for that person. You want it to be natural. You want it to be healthy. Okay, I think there's questions that we deny ourselves. There's things we bury within us. There's things we cloud with our own judgment because we don't want to see that person or the relationship in a negative light. And this isn't me trying to manipulate your situation because only you know whether this was actually healthy or not. To kind of narrow it down as much as I can, the main things that show an avoidant is moving on is a lack of interest, a lack of communication, slandering the relationship, speaking about you in a negative light, especially to family or mutual friends, and 5, choosing other connections and pursuing new relationships and leaving you behind. There are many more, but I feel like those are the main ones that you should be looking for right now. The one thing I will say is it's going to take time, but just be patient with yourself. Understand that this isn't about you. Okay, they didn't leave because of you, because you did anything wrong. And unfortunately, that's something you can't fix. They have to fix it for themselves. They have to seek therapy or take accountability, learn about themselves and the way they feel. So you can sit there and be patient. You can sit there and say to yourself, okay, well, if I wait, if I'm understanding and patient enough, maybe they'll come back around. Yes, I mean, maybe they will. They could come back, but will they come back with change? Will they come back with what you need from them? That's the real question you should ask yourself every single day that you miss them. We miss what was, but do we have what we need in front of us? If they were to one day come back with everything that you need, everything you wanted to hear, everything that they need to do, maybe then you could leave a door open. You are the priority here. Your healing is the priority. Okay, don't put your life on hold because you miss them. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm really hoping this is helping someone because I wish I had this when I was in your shoes. I really, really do hope that this was helpful to you in some way. If it was, and you have any questions for me, if you want help on your situation, please leave it in the comments. I will try to answer every single one of you. And if you are interested, and I'm not pushing this, I do one-to-one calls. So if you want to speak to me directly about your situation in detail, we can set that up. We can actually have a call together. I have a link in my profile where you can actually book that one-to-one call with me directly. But I really do hope that you find what you're looking for, and I hope you heal, because this isn't something light. Okay, it's going to take time, but just be patient with yourself.